friends, here are the signs that you're not primed for a calorie deficit phase. You have to cut really low and then you're hangry. Your body feels like it's resisting losing body fat and your metabolism's just so slow. You can't stick to it and feel like it's mentally exhausting trying to stay on top of it. You don't look as good as you thought you would after dropping some body fat, and or you easily gain it back. I get it. These things should not be happening, and if they are, this just means you didn't do the 4 steps to prime your body for a calorie deficit phase. In today's episode, I'm covering each step, so let's get into it. And if this is you, you need to get in to Create Your Shape because it's open for enrollment right now. Because I'm going to share these 4 steps here, but there is nuance and customization in each of these. And this is really when the coaching comes into play to ensure you're doing it correctly, to get the benefit out of it, and to ensure you're creating your shape and not just guessing and it dragging on forever. This is how you create a shape that looks like you lift weights, but also feel confident executing it and feeling good throughout your deficit phase and feeling like you're doing it in a way where you can sustain it for the long term. So enrollment is open right now. We get started on July 27th if you're listening to this live, and enrollment closes July 23rd. So you can get signed up right now at the link in the show notes, or go to jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape. You'll immediately get access to the foundational guidelines, the initial steps to get your blood work done. If you do want the blood work review, which I highly suggest doing it, instructions on how to get your DEXA scan done, that's another optional part. And you'll also get access to the Create Your Shape training program. So you really start to get set up right away, and then we kick off on July 27th with a mini nutrition seminar where you're going to really learn exactly the strategy to build muscle, decrease body fat, and what you're going to be implementing at a high level over the 4 months of the program. Meanwhile, I'll be reviewing all of the information that you've submitted to me to create your custom dashboard, so you have everything all in one place. You have your macros, your strategy, your updates. We're tracking all your trends. We're tracking your photos, all of that in one place. So within the first 7 days, you're going to have a concrete plan. You're going to have a concrete understanding. You're going to start implementing your foundation and start seeing your body composition change. So you can join us right now. Now, let's get into these 4 steps to prime your body for a calorie deficit phase. This is part of what I implement in Create Your Shape, and it's all custom to you. But right now, I'm just going to go over this at a high level. And of course, I can't include every detail and every little thing that I actually do with my clients to ensure they're progressing. But I do think understanding these 4 steps at a high level is really important. So the first one is the first priming step that you want to take before going into a calorie deficit is increasing your metabolism. So what this actually means is eating enough of the right foods strategically throughout your day. Yes, eating enough increases your metabolism, but it's not just vaguely eating more. It's really doing it in the correct way by creating your plate, strategically having a daily structure, all of these nuanced details that make a difference. And so why does this make a difference? Well, when you're steadily giving your body enough nutrients, not only throughout the day, but day in and day out, like I mentioned before, this increases your metabolism and almost creates safety in your body. This is a very vague way to say that it creates safety in your body to be able to then go into the calorie deficit phase. So if you don't do this, your body feels like it's resisting and it takes forever. And you're one of the people that's oh, I've done a deficit and I don't see any changes. Or it's so slow, and it shouldn't feel that way. But when you do this and have this in place, I had a client who thought something was wrong with her. And she was I thought I was a special snowflake. I thought that I was 39. I thought it was my hormones. And she had me really believe that it was her hormones, which I check blood work for this reason and just to make sure you're optimized under the hood anyway. But her hormones actually looked pretty good. And this was her problem. She wasn't consistently eating enough of the right foods and eat enough in general. And so then when we finally strategically increased her intake up like hundreds of calories, she started to like look better and build muscle, but then also she went into a calorie deficit phase and just decreasing body fat every week. So this definitely has to happen beforehand. The second element that you want to have in place to prime your body for the calorie deficit phase is creating leverage. So basically what this means, again, is eating enough. They're all not eating enough, but that is the main part of it. But you want to eat enough because you can then be in a much better position and eat more food during a calorie deficit phase. So let me give you an example. So if you're only eating 1,400 calories, 1,500 calories right now, in order to decrease body fat, you need to drop 400 to 600 calories below that. That's only like 900 calories a day. Like that's just not sustainable. No wonder you're hangry and feel like you can't make it sustainable. And so if you don't do this, you'll likely be very hangry, and it's just you're not gonna be able to do it long enough to see the changes. And then obviously you're then impacting your metabolism, you're impacting hormones. That's not the idea here. So instead, you want to first go, let's say you are eating 1,500 calories. You want to work up to what your body is actually burning per day when it's primed. And so typically for ladies who are lifting weights, that's 1,800 calories or more. Or if you're lifting heavy weights, that's 2,000 calories or more. So I've seen a lot of my ladies work up to like 2,100 calories, and then they go into a deficit phase at 1,600 calories and they're decreasing body fat. So I am currently working with somebody who the first couple of weeks, she was fighting me to not prime herself and instead just go right into a calorie deficit. And so I'd let her. And you know what happened? Every couple of days, she was so hungry, she couldn't stick to it. And then this happened for a couple of weeks, and she wasn't making any progress at all because we had to cut her so low. And finally, week after week, I went over this again and again. But when you really experience it and then you have the data that shows it, then she's like, okay, I believe you. Let's do this. Let's prime my body first. And not only was it so much more enjoyable for her to actually eat enough, to build muscle, to like feel energized, and actually look better because she was finally giving her body the nutrients she needed in building muscle. But then we went into a calorie deficit at a much higher intake because we were able to get so much higher first and then cut from that place. And bam, every week, dropping body fat, was able to stick to it, didn't feel miserable. And she was sharing, like, I never thought I'd eat this much and drop body fat. And so this is why I emphasize this priming phase and these priming steps. It makes such a big difference. All right, the third item that you want to have in place in your primer phase before you go into a calorie deficit phase is to systemize your routine. So what this actually means is, can you easily hit macros and you're not like, oh, I need to hit 50 macros, 50 protein and at 10 o'clock at night, but instead you're again getting the right nutrients paired together, creating your plate successfully throughout the day in and day out, and you can easily hit macros and you feel macro savvy if you do want to fit in some other food items. Why this is so important is because if you don't have this skill, if you don't have this system and routine set up, and you immediately try to go into a calorie deficit phase, you need to be 7 out of 7 days in a calorie deficit for it to work. So if you feel like it's so much work and something else to do on your plate, and then you do it for 2 days, and the third day you don't, and then you do it again for 5 days, and then 1 day off, you're just going to be on a hamster wheel, not going anywhere. So if you don't have this in place, if you don't systemize your routine and learn how to be macro savvy, it feels like macros are hard. I, again, started working with a client and she said, oh yeah, I've tracked macros before. However, the first week she was like, okay, I'm on my macros. And then I went out to dinner for, a husband's birthday, and I wanted fries and cake. And then she ate over by like 700 calories, and then she was like, oh my gosh, I feel like it doesn't work unless I'm perfect. And she was really frustrated. But it was just because she didn't learn how to make it easy for her. She hadn't like systemized things so that macros were easy, and then she didn't learn how could I fit in the like fries if I wanted the fries, and when would I have the cake or not have the cake, and what do the portions look like, and how do I be macro savvy with that. She like needed to learn that skill first. So obviously that's immediately what we started working on. But when you do have that skill, like I have another example where a client checked in, like in her check-in, she's in a deficit phase, she's decreasing body fat every single week, and it's like the easiest thing she's ever done. And she's like, I feel like I've been doing like really well, and my meals are on like autopilot. Like I feel like I'm on autopilot in this deficit. It's the easiest one I've ever done. And this was like, wow, she dropped like 5 pounds, right? And so I'm like, this is what I want for people, and this is what you can get to when you prime yourself with systemizing your routine and getting that skill down first. All right, number 4, and the final one, the final step to prime your body before a deficit phase, and I say steps, but really all of these happen at the same time, is to build muscle. So basically, in your primer phase, you're eating enough, you're increasing your metabolism, you're creating your nutrition routine that runs on autopilot. You're really learning it as well and understanding the why and becoming savvy with it. But you're also pairing that with your training to build muscle. And so you're going to add more shape to your frame, more like rounded shoulders, more definition to your frame. And why this is so important is, yes, you've probably heard this, it does increase your metabolism. Again, when you do that, that also allows you to eat more and be more flexible with food out and in the deficit phase. But the real reason that I also emphasize this is because you don't have to get as lean, so you don't have to decrease as much body fat, and you look better. You naturally look leaner because that muscle presses against your skin to create that lines and that definition. And that's what you want. When you say I want to look lean, I want to look like I lift weights, and I want to look, typically my ladies don't say I want to look skinny. They say like I want to look lean, like low body fat and defined. And so you don't have to get as lean to still create that definition, and it happens sooner. So if you don't do this beforehand, this is where I find people. Perfect example. I had a client who she decreased 10 pounds, and she was a fitness instructor before, so she felt like I have some muscle there. I don't really want to gain any more muscle. And then she decreased 10 pounds and was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't look as good as I thought I would. I thought it would look like more fit. I don't love it. And so then we emphasized everything I just shared about like increasing her metabolism, like eating enough, creating her routine, and really emphasize building muscle. So optimizing her training, like reviewing her training videos and tweaking like beyond basic form, tracking her weights to ensure we're building, and pairing that with nutrition. And now she went back into a calorie deficit phase and decreased more body fat. And she's like, my legs look so strong. Like you can see the hamstring like definition, that curve in the back. You can see where her glutes separate from her hamstring. You see the quad definition. And she's like, this is the look I'm going for. Now I'm going to prioritize building muscle every single time before a deficit phase. So I can't emphasize these 4 things enough. And if you want to look like you lift weights, then you want to be doing these, and you want to make sure you are priming your body first before going into a calorie deficit phase. And you want to be in create your shape, so that way you can make sure you're doing them correctly. They're all customized to you. And you get the benefit out of every single one. And you get the benefit out of doing a calorie deficit phase. And it feels good. It feels like, yes, I'm progressing. I know exactly what I'm doing, and it's working. And so that's how it should feel. So we're starting soon, July 27th, and enrollment is only open for like another week. So you want to get signed up now. As soon as you get signed up, you'll get an email with the foundational guidelines, the training program, instructions to get blood work done and DEXA scan done. Those last two are optional, but I suggest them. And then we get started. You'll submit your all of your metabolic profile to me, all of the details, so then we can really kick off on the 27th with everything ready to go. So now's the time to get signed up. You can get signed up at the link in the show notes or at jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape. And if you have questions, I do offer free consults too for those who are interested in joining, but maybe want to talk through it. I want to discuss anything. I'm happy to do that. I also have that link in the show notes as well. So we can hop on the call and just discuss your specific scenario, and I can cover anything in more details. And I do want to emphasize though, because I've been getting these questions a lot, that yes, I am coaching you. I am the one creating your plan. I'm the one reviewing your check-in every week. I'm the one updating your macros. I'm the one coaching you on our coaching calls. I'm the one coaching in between. It is me that we will be very close throughout this process. So I will see you inside, and I'll see you next week on the Create Your Shape podcast.